everyone, Nicoletta Morales here with Culture Focus Magazine. I have Mia Edwards. Here with me, a therapist and licensed clinician. She'll give a little bit about her background and she'll help answer some questions in regards to COVID and mental health issues that are very important. So, Mia, if you give the floor to you, if you can tell us a little bit about your background and some of the cases that you have dealt with in regards to COVID and mental health.
Okay. I've been in mental health and social work since 2001. I was in undergrad. I worked for a mental health community service here in Indianapolis. I worked there for 5 years, then went back and got my master's in social work. And so I've been in a variety of settings doing mental health, working with veterans with mental health. So I have a vast background in mental health, and I'm currently working in domestic violence center right now. And mental health comes up all the time because, PTSD from domestic abuse or them already having pre-existing mental health issues before the domestic abuse, and it's just escalated the mental illness aspect. So it's no way to get around mental health, in my opinion. You see it in every setting I've been in as a therapist. You see it everywhere. So
yeah, I completely agree with you, and especially nowadays when COVID creates so much fear, so much stress, and the quarantine, wearing masks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I myself see it, and how does all of this stress trigger mental health issues, and how can one help prevent getting worse?
Okay. So what I've been seeing in my practice, and I've talked to other clinicians, what they're seeing in their area, people who already have mental illness, of course, already suffer from depression and anxiety. Of course, this is just escalated there is 100% because of the isolation, all that you experienced during these quarantine, isolation from your family, friends, even going out and socializing. All that has had an impact. And people who would not have considered themselves to have depression or anxiety are experiencing it now because of just what's going on in our country. With a lot of different things are going on, it's causing secondary trauma to a lot of people. And so it's just, and then having a pandemic on top of everything has just caused a lot of stress. And we know stress can decrease your immune system. It can make you more susceptible to infections and diseases and viruses. So it's sort of catch-22 on that, really, because you're trying to keep your immune system up, during this virus and everything, but all the stress, and a lot of people who have lost their jobs are, I had several of my clients who, they were laid off and, could not, some of them have went back when the company opened back up, but some of them have not. So just the stress of, financial, emotional, and a lot of people had their children at home. So it's just compounded, and trying to keep them occupied. Now, I actually had some clients had to pull back from therapy because they had to deal with, their home life and taking care of their kids. And unfortunately, therapy sometimes had to take a back seat, because they're, in the survival mode. I have a couple that have returned now since the COVID started. Some of them have returned, but some people have not. So
yeah, this, like you said, this year has put a mental strain on all of us. I mean, when you start with the fear of the pandemic, getting sick, some people losing loved ones to COVID-19,
mm-hmm.
then you had the protests, the riots, the
mm-hmm.
Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of crime has spiked.
Right.
People have lost jobs. And so much has happened in 4 months. I mean, there's no way the mental health aspect has not been affected. I mean, the stress levels were extremely high, very high. and people just need an outlet. They need somewhere to go and just feel better and forget about
Right.
everything that it's happening. So do you recommend therapy as one way to deal with it, or there's other ways and tips to release that enormous stress that has built up over the 4 or 5 months?
Yes. Therapy is definitely, I would recommend that, but for some people that may not be the reality. So, trying to find something that makes them feel better. And some of my clients, I've told them just to, take 10 minutes of, if they can find 10 minutes to, just kind of meditate, breathe, take deep breaths. I mean, it's simplistic things, but it really helps a lot when you start doing it. And, and 10 minutes a day, you know, just trying to sit there and be quiet and still and breathe and refocus your mind and, and get your thoughts together. And then, try to tackle the day, because it's been, and I've been working from home ever since March. And I got to say, I'm a therapist, but it's been difficult on me. So it's just, because home life does not change. I mean, just, things still say the same, whatever problems you had going on in your life is still there on top of a pandemic. So, it's been even challenging for myself.
Absolutely. And what I see now, that we're in different phases. In Illinois we're in phase 4, but obviously different states are different phases. But I see the two fronts of the people not wearing the mask, the people that are
Mm-hmm.
wearing the mask, and then people that are angry at the ones that are not wearing the mask. So there's
Mm-hmm.
so much division and so much anxiety and stress even now that the world's opening up.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you explain that, these two very different ideas and very different ways that people are handling it? And is there a common ground that people can meet, and instead of being angry at one another, kind of work together to overcome the pandemic and the anxiety and stress that's following all of us, essentially?
Yes. Well, to your first part of your question, uh, as we know, everybody handles stress differently. So that's what we're seeing. It's a pandemic, but it's still a basic foundation of everybody handle stress differently. And some people handle stress with, you know, acting out, verbally acting out, physically acting out. That's what we're seeing. And the thing about it is people want some sense of control. That's also what is going on. So they feel like, okay, I'm going to control, I don't have to wear a mask. I'm not going to let someone tell me that I have to wear a mask, even though we've seen time after time after time how not wearing a mask, not social distancing is causing the disease to spike. And we're back on that road of it spiking again. And in my state, we're Indiana, so we next to you in Illinois. I think both our states are staying steady right now, I think. But in the South, things are just is spiking, really bad.
Yeah, you see some states going back and forth between phases depending on the cases. So
Mm-hmm.
in a way, we're almost like there's a relief, yay, we're moving forward, and all of a sudden, here we are again moving backwards. So that puts a lot of strain on the mental
Yes.
side of things, because it's almost like you're always living in uncertainty, in
Mm-hmm.
fear, and at some point, something's got to give. And
Right.
one population that I've seen that it's not much talked about, that's also affected are the children, because playgrounds have been closed. They
Yes.
haven't been able to go to school. So how can kids deal with that, and something, tips
Well,
for parents to help them?
yes, because I also work with children doing play therapy. So it's that's been difficult too, because a lot of my clients, uh, they had children, and I was working with all of them. And we've been doing teletherapy, but for children, like I said, I do play therapy, different things with them. So it's hard to do therapy with them, and they have, especially the younger ones. So if they're older teenagers, yes, can do it on the teletherapy, but it's been really difficult with the younger ones. So what I've been doing is just trying to give the parents, some tips and advice about, how to deal with it, because they've been seeing increased behaviors from their children, they've been seeing, them having more tantrums, them acting out more toward each other, toward their other siblings. So it has, really hit a hot button, and that's concerning too for society, because we don't, want to increase of child abuse, but like I've in my other segment on domestic violence, that's one thing we're seeing. We're seeing an increase in domestic violence. We're seeing, we're going to see an increase in child, violence. So that's, because of the pressure that the parents are feeling. So it's basically, if we can get to the parents, if the parents can understand, that they have to get an outlet, and they, like I said, even if they just, get 10 minutes, 15 minutes to themselves, so that they, can deal with their children, and really they, playing games, doing all kind of, trying to do fun things to occupy them. It doesn't take a lot of money to play Uno, or to, to do different games in the household. And you can go outside, as long as you're social distancing. So, taking walks, just doing things like that to kind of increase your mood, and being outside in the sunshine.
You absolutely hit it on the spot, because you're right. It doesn't take much to play with a kid and make sure that the kid is okay. But essentially, where is the silver lining? Because the parents are feeling the pressure, the kids are feeling the pressure. You try to take them on walks, you try to do fun things, but then this pressure overcomes, and it seems like two sides are battling for power, because you feel helpless in that situation. And especially women that have husbands or that are suffering, even single moms, and women that are in domestic abuse situations. So there's so much going on that you start to wonder, where is the silver lining?
I
Is there
know
a silver lining?
I know. And, I just try to be that person, that beacon of hope, for my clients, because that's something they have asked me. It's like, when the things are going to get better, or like I can't get up in the morning. I just feel like, it's just all the weight of everything, because it's, unfortunately, it's so many different layers now that's going on, so many tiers of trauma. There's a lot of trauma, and and secondary trauma is real. You don't have to be there or experience the trauma to start to feel it in your body. And that's another thing, with stress. We have to be very aware of our own bodies, because where stress starts for us. So for myself, I get stressed in my shoulders. So, they tense up. So you have to figure out where, just start to relax, your shoulders, just do little exercises of stretching. And because the stress is physical too. I mean, it really can, can paralyze someone, because of just that overwhelming type of stress. And it just seems so overwhelming, and it paralyzes you. So, like I said, physical, emotional, spiritual, all, everything's affected.
Yeah, it seems like now we have to pay attention to, not like you mentioned, the physical, but not just the physical, the mental, the spiritual, every single layer, so we can push through the uncertainty and the stress that's happening. And especially women, we're very emotional, very hormonal, but we have to deal with a lot of things. We're parents, we work, housework, and then you have the extra stress on top of it. So what are some of the mental health issues or problems that you've seen women talk about or complain that they're dealing with? And then what is your advice for them as well?
Yes. Well, sort of like I mentioned, like some of my clients were stating, that it's just overwhelming, and they feel kind of hopeless about things. And, especially my lower income people, because a lot of these jobs are not returning, especially here in Indiana. I've been seeing a lot of restaurants, or they're not reopening. So, those jobs that really help some people who, were looking, to work somewhere, it's going to be more and more scarce. So, basically, it comes down to just self-care, and that's for everybody. Self-care, I don't care if you rich, poor, whatever. Self-care is important, because that stress can cause heart attacks, it can cause strokes, it can cause high blood pressure, it can it can cause a lot of, like I said, health problems, physical problems, but also, like you said, just it causes more depression. There's mild, moderate, and severe depression. And definitely, if you feel like you're very depressed and you do not, feel like you feel hopeless and you feel like you have no one to talk to, definitely seek out someone.
And that's a great advice. I definitely want to advise everyone to seek therapy because it's very helpful. I mean, even personally, my story, as a female, as a single parent, it is difficult. I had to homeschool the kid. And then obviously with everything that's been happening, it did put a mental strain on me like never before. And what I found helpful for me was meditation, like you mentioned, but also going outside and really looking at nature, not just going outside and being there physically, but being there mentally, meaning looking at
really taking it in. Yes.
Exactly.
And I mean, so there's a lot of different ways that people can cope, try to, like I said, we've mentioned some of them, the meditation and everything, but there's, listening to music, try to think of a time when you were happy and, kind of just thinking about that and then bringing yourself back there for a few minutes to boost your, to boost your happy place. Coloring, whatever. I like the adult coloring books. That helps me. So some people don't. So, but listening to music, writing, doing journals, some people are journal people, writing a journal, that stuff helps because it's getting that stuff out and talking. And even if you don't seek out a therapist, talking to someone that you trust, and just letting them know, I just need to vent for 5-10 minutes. Can I do that? And then, just getting that stuff out because holding it in is not healthy.
You're so spot on. And I really want people to hear that because even what I found helpful for me was talking to friends, and even one friend matters because I know some people prefer isolation, keeping it in and just dealing on your own. But what really helps, right, is when you have somebody to talk to and share and spend time with, and connect, because we were missing connection essentially over those 4 months, and we're humans. So connection is
that's exactly it, because of that human connection. And and some people who already, like I said, already had anxiety, already had mental health problems, that isolation just it just compounded things for them, because some people who have social anxiety, socializing was already difficult, and now it just went to none. So it really has just compounded on some of underlying issues that people already had. So that's the problem too. And we're seeing, like we said, we're seeing a lot of people acting out, refusing to follow guidelines, and and that just comes from fear. It really just comes from fear, and they're coming from a place of fear. And basically, I would say educate yourself and really, find something that you feel that makes you feel happy, and try to do that, because we're gonna be in this for a while, and so everybody out here, hurting each other is just not the answer.
Absolutely. And I want everyone to hear that, because hurting, like you said, hurting each other is not the answer. And would you also recommend that people do research? Because sometimes
educating yourself. Yes.
Because sometimes we don't know. For example, I didn't know there was a beach open near me, and I wanted to go to a beach so bad, and I was depressed that I couldn't go to a beach, and it's summertime. So even finding that one thing, that one beach, one cafe that you want to go to, and just going there would help you tremendously. Would you agree? Just putting yourself out there slowly, would that be the solution as well?
Yes. I mean, we'll have to, basically we need to take everything, step by step, day by day, because things are changing. And also we hear so many different point of views. We hear so many different, a lot of information is coming from a lot of different outlets. And so that's confusing. You know what I mean? And, some states followed some things, some states did. So it's just, I think just research and educating yourself, is the best thing.
Absolutely. And immersing yourself fully in the present as much as you can, and really
Mm-hmm.
feeling that nature, that sunshine, that tree, and just being there and appreciating life. I
Yeah.
know it's difficult, not for every, I understand that it's not going to be for everyone, and it's difficult to do that sometimes, and especially in the minority situations. I mean, there's obviously a sense of financial problems right now because of
Mm-hmm.
lack of jobs. So how can one tackle that as well? And what are some of the issues working with minorities that you've noticed, mental health issues, and how have they been dealing with it?
Um, it's been, I've worked with immigrants too, and who are trying to get their green cards and everything. So that has, I mean, this COVID has really, hindered, because nothing was open. So, them waiting to, to hear back from that, and that has been frustrating for them. And, some of them don't have work permits. So just that, all that pressure on top of that. And then, like I said, with minorities, it's been, I mean, those are areas that's already been hit, the minority population, the immigrants, they already had all that stress. You know what I mean? And now it's just compounding. It's just, so it's just a basic thing. It's just, you have to find someone to talk to. You have to, you have to really kind of do things that make you feel better. And like you were saying, you have to live in the now. That's what I tell my clients. We can't do anything about the past, you know, but we just have to live in the now. We don't know what the future going to bring. So we have to live in the now. And, you know, that's important. And really keeping your relationships up that you've already had, just keep those up, talking, like I said, whoever, talking to them on the phone. And I've been seeing a lot of people been doing the Zoom friends, just that way you could talk to each other and interact with each other and laugh.
Yeah, do what essentially makes you happy. If it's one small thing, it makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And for the women that are in abusive situations, in domestic violence situations, that really need a way out,
Mm-hmm.
what can they do? Because
Well,
it was hard
it's
enough
been
before.
difficult. It's been difficult because like the shelters have reopened, but some of them are doing it at half capacity. So some of the organizations like the domestic violence network, like they've been giving people other options, you know, since the shelters have, reopened, but they're not taking full capacity. So there's been other alternatives. I think some grants have been given so that they can stay in hotels or something like that, because, it is bad, because if the shelter is not open, they have to stay with their abuser. So, but we've been, like I said, here in Indianapolis, the shelters have reopened, but, you know, they have to do the social distancing. So it's been kind of at half capacity than what they used to have.
Yeah, I'm assuming the advice will be just try to research as much as you can online, make phone calls, and find out the shelters that are open.
Yes. Yeah. Find out what shelter is open in your area. Uh, Here in Indianapolis, we have that 211, and it's just an informational network, and they'll tell you what and where everything is for shelters, pantries, So just find out what you have in your state and just call those networks, and they'll tell you what's open and where you can go.
Yeah, absolutely. Try as much as you can. It's not easy. A lot of phones don't work. I mean, even with the unemployment on the rise, and they had issues with the phone, but now they moved to the website. So there's different
Yeah.
ways. They just gotta be found. And I found that life is slowly opening up, and so it's like a little hope and a glimpse of hope that we can hold on to and just push forward with as much strength and resilience as we can. And I know
Yes.
some people are asking, is there a magic pill? Is there a magic pill at all
No.
to this?
I mean, well, I would say some people may need, I mean, I don't want to, push that, because, medication is always a tricky subject, especially in mental health it is. So, but if you feel that you really are having a hard time functioning, when depression gets severe and it's interfering with your life, it's interfering with you functioning, it's interfering with you enjoying things, it's interfering with you getting up out of the bed every day. You might need a low dose of something, but talk to your provider, about that. I don't want to push that because it's very controversial sometimes in the mental health, department, because some of the medications have side effects. So it throws people off. They don't want to take it, but having a low dose of something sometimes do help. If it's becoming severe and you cannot, moderate to severe, and you can't, exercise it away, or you can't, all the coping skills you tried is not working for you, sometimes you may need a little something to help to get you, just back at that level where you can function.
Absolutely, and like you said, talk to the professional.
Yeah, talk to your doctors, your primary care physicians. Talk to them and just see what they suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been such a tough year, such tough 4 months for all of us battling this mental health issues and just trying to survive. Like I said, survival mode essentially, and a lot of fear. And what can we do to help with that fear? I mean, it's a feeling that just rises within you and you can't fight it
Right.
most of the time. But is there a way to cope with it and just be like,
Well,
I'll go
what
through it?
I've been telling some of my clients is you have to kind of weigh it if it's a irrational or rational fear. Because if it's an irrational fear, you can work through that. Rational fear, it may be, yes, it's a actual fear, but it's how I cope with it, how I respond to it, and so we'll have to weigh if this is irrational. Oh, is that some type of fear that's really not gonna, I'm not gonna, that's not gonna affect me. So let me just kind of see if I can just work through that. But with a rational fear, yes, it possibly could happen. You possibly could get COVID. You possibly, what I mean? But it is how you respond to things. And it's hard. I mean, I tell my clients, these are simplistic things, but it's not easy to do. They're not easy to do because, when you have those fears, especially with anxiety, that's part of anxiety. Irrational fears and actual fears is part of anxiety. So even writing it down, writing down, is this an irrational fear or a rational fear? Okay, how can I, what are the steps I can do to combat this? So I mean, it's very hard. Like, I've had some of my clients track their anxiety, so they, can see, okay, where am I from 1 to 10? Where is my anxiety? And then what is the coping skill that I can do to help with that? And is this a real fear or irrational fear? So, just, it's like I said, it's not easy. It's just sounds simplistic, but it's not easy to do, because especially when you have a lot of anxiety, that's what throws you, you hyperventilate, you go into panic because it's a fear of something.
Absolutely. It's important not to ignore it and share it when you're feeling it,
Yes.
because it's a snowball effect. We're all affected. So it's important to talk about it and share it with friends or therapists, and put it out there. And
Yes.
yeah, you gave us so much information and such a great information and tips. And I hope
Well, thank you. I
those
hope it
who are
was
listening.
helpful.
Yeah, it definitely was. And is there anything else that you would like to say or add in addition to all that great information that you gave us?
Reach out to the domestic violence networks, reach out to the child abuse hotlines, reach out to the suicide hotlines. Those people, that's what they're there. That's what they're there for on the end of those hotlines. Don't be afraid. Some people they feel embarrassed to go into a place or to call for help. But these hotlines, there's just another person on the side there. They're not judging you or anything, but they will help you get help if you need to.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So let's try to find it and hold on to it in these
Yes.
difficult times that we live in. And thank you, Mia, for your time. Thank you for everything. We appreciate you. And
Thank you.
let's stay positive and, you know,
And
get up there.
we'll get through this together, but Yeah, we have to keep some type of hope.
Absolutely. Hope is essential. Thank you again, and best of luck to you, Mia. Appreciate it.
Thank you.